I was in Michigan earlier this week covering the Senate primary. So many of you watched along with us. And in Detroit, voters were excited. The dedicated and patriotic poll workers, they were doing their thing. They were poll working. But in the midst of all of this, federal monitors sent by the Justice Department were stationed at several polling place sites across the state. And late that night, I had this remarkable conversation inside Detroit's facility where absentee votes were being counted with the city's COO of elections. His name is Daniel Baxter. He's a 41-year veteran of election administration, and he was targeted by the Trump allies in 2020 after he lost that election. And he told me he was puzzled by what the Justice Department was doing there. Do you believe that they were here to uphold the integrity of the election, or was there another reason?
I don't know why they were here. All I know is that we had a job to do, and we did that in the spirit of integrity and transparency.
And now Donald Trump has his guy in the Justice Department to potentially help all of this along elsewhere. Since Trump's return to the White House, he has attempted to put his thumb on the scale of government as much as possible. And how our elections are monitored and how our elections are administered is no exception. But let's take a minute to rewind. Let's go back to December 2020, Trump 1.0. Heidi Stirrup was a White House liaison to the Justice Department back then. Do you remember this? She was essentially Donald Trump's eyes and ears at the Justice Department. And right after the 2020 election, which Joe Biden won, Stirrup was reportedly trying to pressure staffers to give up sensitive information about election fraud and other matters that she could relay to the White House. That is according to 3 people familiar with the matter who told the Associated Press. Stirrup was then barred from the Justice Department headquarters for pressuring staffers. And at the time, the Justice Department declined to comment. They didn't say anything. But around a month later, Stirrup was appointed to the Prince William County Electoral Board in Virginia. And since 2025, she has served as chair of the board, which oversees elections in a majority Democratic county that touches 2 different congressional districts. So if you're asking yourself, why this woman whose name you probably don't remember or recognize is relevant in 2026, let me tell you. According to the New York Times, Heidi Stirrup is one of at least 25 different county election officials across the country who have taken office since the 2024 federal election, who through their public statements or their actions align themselves with the broader election denier movement. That is according to a New York Times review of a new database from Voting Rights Lab. That's a nonprofit voting rights organization. To recap, that is at least 25 election deniers already working in county election roles all across the country. But now, even more election deniers are running for local office, for state office, for federal elections this year. According to States United Action, that's a nonprofit, nonpartisan group whose mission is to protect our elections and our democracy. This year, there are 92 races for statewide offices that oversee elections. That's governor and attorney general and secretary of state. Of those races, 32 election deniers are vying for positions in which they would be overseeing elections. Let me say that one more time. 32 people who have questioned or denied or spread conspiracies about the 2020 election, which has been litigated over and over and over again, are running for positions that would oversee and administer future elections. This is a Mayday situation, you guys. 20 election deniers are running for governor, 2 of whom are incumbents. 10 election deniers are running for Secretary of State. 9 election deniers are running for Attorney General. 3 are incumbents. These are not ceremonial offices. Governors appoint election officials. Secretaries of State oversee election administration. Attorneys General investigate election-related crimes and defend election laws in court. Altogether, they help shape how elections are run and how disputes over those elections are resolved. This is scary stuff. I am not exaggerating. When it comes to the House and Senate, at least 102 election deniers, 102, won primaries and will be on the ballot come November. And it does not stop there because why would it stop there? This is also happening in the judiciary. The Senate keeps confirming Trump's judicial nominees, many of whom have questioned the legitimacy of the 2020 election.
In 2008, Barack Obama ran against John McCain. Who won that election?
I believe President Obama was sworn into office, so I'm certain he won.
4 years later, Barack Obama ran against Mitt Romney. Who won that election?
President Obama was sworn into office, so I'm certain he was elected.
Did Donald Trump defeat Hillary Clinton?
In the Electoral College, he did, yes.
Who won between Donald Trump and Joe Biden?
Well, Joe Biden was certified by joint session of Congress.
Judge Cronin, you're already on the district court. Who won the 2020 election?
Senator, under the constitutional system, and in particular the 12th Amendment, Joseph Biden received the majority of the Electoral College vote.
You really have nothing to lose. You're on the court with a lifetime appointment, and yet you're unwilling to state the simple fact that Joe Biden won the 2020 election.
Be a man, be your own man right now and stand up and answer a question. Did Joe Biden win the 2020 presidential election? Yes or no?
The United States Congress.
Oh, there you go. Sir, stop. Tell me no. I can't give you a yes or no answer if that's your answer. Yes or no? Did President Biden win the 2020 elections?
The United States Congress certified Joseph
Sir,
Biden.
you are showing cowardice.
I'll say it again. This is a Mayday situation, guys. It should not be difficult to acknowledge a simple historical fact. Joe Biden won the 2020 presidential election fair and square. Period. End of sentence. A free and fair election is the bedrock of any democracy. The officials who count ballots and certify results and investigate election crimes and defend election laws and interpret those laws in court rarely receive the same attention as presidential candidates or members of Congress. But when an election is close or is contested, they are often the people who determine whether the public accepts the outcome. That is why these races matter. Let me remind you of what then candidate Donald Trump told his supporters at a rally just 2 years ago.
In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Right. I also cannot talk about elections without recognizing the ordinary Americans who make our elections possible. Not Congress, not the governor, not the Secretary of State, the poll workers. The people who spend long hours, often as volunteers or for modest pay, not because it is glamorous, but because they believe in the democratic process. In recent years, these people have endured harassment and intimidation and targeted threats simply for doing their jobs, for showing up to help carry out democracy in action. They deserve our thanks, not our suspicion. At a time when confidence in elections is under strain, they're among the people doing the real work of seeing democracy through. Joining me now is Mo Ivory, the commissioner for Fulton County, Georgia, and candidate for the chair of the Fulton County Commission. She was commissioner during the FBI's raid of a Fulton County election office in January. She is also an attorney and a law professor. It's great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You know, we just heard from Daniel Baxter, who has for 41 years, almost all of those 41 years, worked for the Detroit Department of Elections. It was incredible to be there on Tuesday night with him and hear how puzzled he was by the lawyers. And we don't even know officially if they are lawyers poking around where the absentee ballots were, not just where they were being counted, but in polling places, different polling places throughout Detroit, in the east and the west part. And they would come in and they would sign into those polling books. And they would barely interact with anybody. He told me, you in Fulton County have experienced this on an extreme level with the FBI raid. They seized election records. What is your message to election workers like Mr. Baxter, who might be dealing with this in November?
Yeah, I mean, it's just perplexing that you could go to a job. Many of our poll workers, many of our election administrators have been working on the job for 30 years or 25, 40 years. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you come to work in a climate where you become the focus of a national election. I mean, can you imagine how startling that is to somebody who, makes their lunch, it takes the same route to work every day for 30 years, looking forward to retiring. And now you have the FBI in front of you raiding your office. You have constant worry about your personal information, about your own safety on a job that you are literally just making sure that people, everybody, not one party over another, but that everybody is able to have fair and free elections. And then all of a sudden, you are the subject of this one maniac.
It's shameful. And we spend so much time talking about who's going to control Congress. It doesn't seem to me, at least, that we are paying enough attention to the rules that actually administer our elections. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, no, absolutely. And I think what is important for people like me on the local level, a commissioner, and now running for chair, the Democratic nominee for chair of the Fulton County Commission, I think it's important for us to continue to provide information to our constituents, because you get so much false information, so much misinformation, and that's exactly what it's meant to do. All of this is meant to make people stay away from the polls. Yeah. But let me tell you about what's happening in Fulton County. Let me tell you about what's happening in Georgia. People are showing up. And that it's not working. So what we do on a very local level is just continue to educate and continue. I go out in the street. Just yesterday, I was at a convention here in Atlanta for my sorority, and people were coming up to me and saying, thank you for the videos that you do on social media. I am not afraid to go to the polls. I know they're going to weaponize our voting here in Fulton County. I know they want us to stay away, and we are not going to stay away. We're going to continue to show up, and that's the message that we have to keep giving to voters.
Nobody has to pretend like human beings don't all have their own individual vantage points through which they see the world or even politics. I do, but I come to this job with a goal every day of doing my job fairly and transparently and accurately and letting people make up their own minds. The same can be said of election workers or election administrators or all these people who are entrusted to uphold, the parts of our democracy that we hold so dear. Can you talk about for viewers what exactly a county commissioner is responsible for when it comes to elections?
Sure. So county, thank you for that question. And that's the education people need. County commissioners are responsible for voting who sits on the election board of registration and elections. And that is who administers our elections. And you know that Fulton County has been the focus of that. They are right now trying to force the board of commissioners to put 2 election deniers onto the registration and elections board. And that would mean that they would have a say so in what happens in our election administration. One of them has been on the board already and has been completely disruptive and has been part of the election integrity network. So commissioners play a huge role in who sits on the election boards. And the chair, for example, in Fulton County, we have 5 members, 2 appointed by the Democratic Party, 2 appointed by the Republican Party, and then the chair of the Registrations and Election Board appointed by the chair and the commissioners. So that is always going to be a 3-2 situation. So it's very, very important that we appoint people who are going to uphold elections, not be partisan, but are going to uphold the election administration. Because actually, Fulton County elections are not partisan. No elections boards or no election administration is supposed to be partisan as to how they administer elections. Exactly. And so it is our job to make sure that 3-2 never shifts over to the side where we will have election deniers running our elections in Fulton County.
And I have never, in all my, this month, marks 11 years for me at this network. In my 11 years here covering elections, I have never, ever walked into a polling place or a place of election administration or ballot tabulation or curing votes or whatever and heard somebody say, I'm going to carry this out in a partisan way. It's the exact opposite. Mo Ivory, I want to continue this conversation with you. Stick around. We're going to have a short break and we'll all be right back. When you hear about these states, the findings by States United Action, 32 statewide races, election deniers on the ballot, how disturbed are you by what this appears to be a large effort by election deniers to oversee and administer elections throughout the country?
Yeah, it's disturbing, but it's not surprising. When you've been sitting, I think that even like when we woke up this morning and we heard that Todd Blanche had been confirmed, right, in the wee hours of the morning, you think that would make people go like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? But so much has happened that it's not even sort of surprising anymore, right? It's disturbing on so many levels, but it's not really surprising anymore. So I don't feel surprised when I hear that there are so many election deniers running for office. This is part of a very well-planned thing by Donald Trump, strategy by Donald Trump to take over elections. I mean, all of this is to take over United States elections. This is about retaining power for not only Donald Trump, but a party that will allow him to dismantle the Constitution. So this is, as a lawyer, I'm beyond disturbed. Like, every time I get ready to start a new semester, which I'm getting ready to start in a week, I think about, like, what should I teach about now? Because there's just like new violations of the Constitution to teach about, right? What should I focus on? And I want to keep my politics out of the classroom because I must do that. But we're really talking about just what's happening to the Constitution. So the fact that we see so many election deniers on the ballot is a concerted effort to choose people that will line up with the agenda, that will continue the fight to dismantle the Constitution and eventually take over elections, like in the clip that you just showed where he said you won't even have to worry about going to vote.
What will you tell your students this semester about if some of these candidates win? What's the first thing that they or you will be watching for or should look out for?
You know, I always tell my students that we have laws in place as future lawyers. We have laws in place, and that when you are thinking about the law, you're not supposed to be thinking about it from any kind of partisan view. You're supposed to be applying the law as it is. And that is not happening in our country right now. And so it gives us a lot of cases to study, a lot of things to look at. And I don't teach constitutional law, but it is important for students just to understand the full basis of the law as they become practitioners, learn to become practitioners. So, you know, I talk about a very fine line I walk because I'm both a professor and a candidate, but that I am a candidate because of what I know about the law. Part of what fueled me to want to become the chair, I was a commissioner, and then I wanted to become the chair because of the election deniers, because of what was happening in Fulton County, because of how we needed to be stronger in our defense against Donald Trump and the taking over of our elections. When time and time again it has shown that our elections have been, recounted, litigated, counted again, over and over, and no findings of any wrongdoing have ever come out of any of those looks into, including right now, where he's looking again, trying to make up, malfeasance in Fulton County so that he can do what he did in Michigan, which is to bring in military, to militarize our elections, to scare Fulton County voters, and so they won't show up. But we're showing up.
And that has been the reaction that I have seen over and over again, particularly when I was covering the ICE raids, and all of these governors said to me, Newsom and Pritzker and Tim Walz, that they suspected that was a trial run, paraphrasing, to bring in federal agents or troops during elections. I could talk about this with you all day, and we will continue the conversation another time. I hope you'll come back. Mo Ivory, the commissioner for Fulton County, Georgia, and candidate for the chair of the Fulton County Commission. I appreciate it.
Thank you.